works in Wellsville, lives around Wellsville. He was a U.S. Air Force veteran, having served 1983 to 87. Job with the Air Force was building bombs. He was partially responsible for redecorating Libya years ago, building them and loading them up in England. My honor and privilege, Mr. Joe Traina. Joe, you got a big following out there.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the Memorial Council for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Police and fire departments, all the school peoples here. And I'd like to take a second to go a little walk and thank someone who I'm pretty sure isn't here today, but I think about him all the time. And that's my high school English teacher, Mrs. Calhoun. Every time I have an occasion to put pen to paper, I think about her. And I should send her a thank you note, but I don't do it out of fear, because she would probably grade it and send it back. Anyhow, 4 years ago, I missed Memorial Day services. That's the only one I've missed since I got out of the service. And the reason I missed it is I had to go to Birmingham for my Aunt Jenny's funeral. My Aunt Jenny is my Uncle Tom, or my dad's sister, and she was married to my Uncle Tom. And while I was in Birmingham, as a kid growing up, I always knew that my Uncle Tom was in the Army. I never knew what he did, what part he played, never knew he was in a war. It's just one of the things he never talked about. So while I was in Birmingham, my cousin shared a paper that he had written right before he died in April of 2000. And it told some of the things that had happened to him while he was in World War II. My uncle was a medic with the 29th Division L Company. When he ended up going to Omaha Beach for D-Day, first wave. Right off the boat, my uncle carrying his medic pack, a wave hit him that took him under. And if it wasn't for a sergeant standing beside him that realized he was in trouble and cutting his pack off, my uncle never would have made it to shore. On another occasion, he tripped the booby trap wire. The bomb didn't explode. My uncle survived. Of 29 medics in the L Company division, he was one of 3 to make it home. The rest did not survive. So my uncle was a very, very lucky man in that way. But we were all lucky because my uncle did make it home. And that's what I came to realize when we were in Birmingham, and I was with my 6 cousins, all sons, and I realized none of those people would exist if my uncle hadn't made it home and married my Aunt Jenny, let alone the fact that she grew up in Wellsville and he grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's another story all by itself. But the fact that they did it, and they were married 50 years before my uncle passed away. And it just makes me wonder what the real cost of war actually is. People go and never come back. And what's the cost to those family members that never see their loved ones again? Never got a chance to say goodbye? What if that person that died on the battlefield, and we'll never know, was the person that was going to cure cancer or any other disease that we're facing? Let alone the lives that were never born because they died. My aunt and uncle are now responsible for 35 additional lives that would not be if my uncle had not made it home, between his sons, his grandkids, and his great-grandkids. And when you think about all that and how it affects all of our lives, you see what war is all about and how important it is that we take this time to remember the ones that didn't make it home. Now, I'm going to read a portion of what my Uncle Tom wrote, and I wish I could have memorized it, but I don't want to miss it. And I'm going to tell you that it's graphic, it's depressing, and it's sad. But this is what these people put up with for our freedom. Documentaries and dramatizations of many of the battles of World War II have been and continue to be produced that try to capture the horrors of war, but they will always fall short of reality. They can't include the horrible stench of burning flesh, the nauseating sweet smell of blood, the sour vomit and foul excrement, and the putrid scent of decaying bodies. They can't really show the pain and agony suffered when young men lose their limbs, their eyesight, or are burned beyond recognition. Nothing can capture the feeling of grief and despair when the buddy you were just talking to falls silent in mid-sentence. I knew nothing of death and dying, of men losing body parts or losing their minds from shell shock. How can anybody know how they would measure up under fire? Most of the men proved their mettle many times over. Medic, medic, that call still haunts me today. My uncle's wish is that America never forgets them. Thank you once again for coming out today, and may God bless my Uncle Tom.
Thank you, Joe. That was very thought-provoking. And now, Mr. Brown, if you will,